The first breath of morning unfolded slowly over the small New England town, where red maple leaves whispered in the gentle breeze, and the river traced a silver ribbon along the valley below. From the attic window of the old Whitmore house, Clara watched the light tremble across the worn wooden floors, touching the edges of the furniture with soft golden warmth. She inhaled deeply, the crisp autumn air brushing against her cheeks, carrying with it the faint scent of damp earth and the sweet decay of fallen leaves. There was a stillness here, a quiet lull, as if the world itself had paused to remember something long forgotten. Clara let herself sink into the moment, her body softening as she felt the pull of the mattress beneath her. She stretched her arms slowly, feeling the tiny, comforting creaks of the old house in response. "Breathe in and out," she whispered to herself, though the words seemed to mingle with the sighing of the wind outside. Her eyes closed, she imagined the gentle ripples of the river, the rustle of the maple leaves above, and the distant hum of the town awakening footsteps of early risers. A dog barking, the quiet clink of cups in the corner cafe. Each sound was a thread, weaving together the fabric of the morning, a melody of life both ordinary and quietly magical. The Whitmore house had been in her family for generations, its walls holding stories she had only glimpsed in fragments. Today, the attic felt alive with whispers of memory. She ran her fingers across the dusted banister and felt the echoes of her grandmother's laughter, the warm rhythm of Sunday breakfasts, the hush that fell over the house when someone had gone missing from the town years ago. Even the bell tower in the distance seemed to hold its own memory, the silent giant that watched over the village, chiming only when a significant moment demanded its voice. Clara had often wondered what secrets it had kept over the centuries. How many weddings, farewells, and quiet tears it had witnessed from its high perch. As she rose and stretched toward the window, she noticed a flicker in the branches of the tallest maple tree outside. It was subtle at first, like a shadow caught between leaves, and yet it drew her gaze as if it were meant to be seen. For a moment, the memory of her father appeared, walking through the forest behind the house, his boots crunching softly over frost-touched leaves, the lantern in his hand glowing like a tiny sun. She remembered the stories he told about the bell tower, how it had once been the heart of the town, a keeper of time and secrets alike. "Every choice leaves an echo," he had said, "and sometimes the echoes speak louder than the people themselves." Clara's heartbeat slowed as she imagined walking through the crisp morning air, her footsteps harmonizing with the soft whisper of the wind. The river gleamed in the distance, the sound of water over rocks a gentle lullaby, carrying memories of laughter, sorrow, and unspoken love. She could almost see the faces of her ancestors reflected in the moving water, their eyes warm and patient, their expressions soft with understanding. Even the frost, glistening on the roof tiles, seemed to pulse with life, as though the house itself were breathing in quiet rhythm with her. Her mind drifted toward the bell tower once more, imagining it not as a structure of stone and wood, but as a guardian of emotion, each chime marking a human experience, a whispered thought, a memory too fragile to survive alone. She could hear the imagined sound, faint and distant, like a bell ringing underwater, calling her toward reflection and calm. With every breath, she felt herself sinking deeper into the stillness, the weight of daily worries melting away under the gentle light of memory and imagination. Clara moved toward the small writing desk tucked into the corner of the attic. Her grandmother's journals lay there, yellowed and soft with age. She lifted one carefully, feeling the texture of the pages beneath her fingers, and read aloud a line that seemed to reach across time. In the quiet, we hear what the heart remembers, even when the world forgets. The words resonated in her chest, a comforting warmth spreading through her limbs. The attic bathed in soft, golden light that seemed to linger longer than any ordinary morning. Outside, the wind rustled through the leaves again, carrying with it a hint of something unfamiliar, a shimmer of movement at the edge of vision, a faint echo that made her heart flutter ever so slightly. Clara smiled softly, letting her curiosity mingle with her calm, and closed her eyes to the light streaming through the window. She felt the pulse of the house, the bell tower, and her own memory intertwining in a rhythm that was both ancient and entirely hers. And as the day began its slow descent into afternoon, Clara whispered to herself with a tender exhale, as the story fades, allow yourself to drift into a peaceful sleep. The morning light had shifted, brushing the Whitmore house in warmer hues, yet the attic remained a sanctuary of quiet reflection. Clara sat by the window, her fingers tracing the delicate frost spatter still clinging to the glass, noticing how sunlight transformed them into tiny golden filigrees. Outside, the red maples swayed gently, their leaves trembling with the soft gusts of wind, and the distant river mirrored the sky in a fluid silver, each ripple singing a hushed lullaby. She inhaled slowly, letting the crisp autumn air fill her lungs, noticing the subtle scent of pine from the nearby woods, mingling with the sweetness of fallen leaves and the faint smokiness of the town chimneys. She allowed herself to sink deeper into this moment, feeling the weight of years, memories, and quiet stories resting gently on her shoulders. Clara thought of her grandmother's kitchen, where the scent of baked apples and cinnamon always seemed to promise warmth, even in the coldest months. She could almost hear her father's low voice, guiding her through lessons of patience and quiet observation, reminding her that the world often reveals its magic in the softest of whispers. Every sound around heard the creak of floorboards, the distant toll of the town bell, the faint chatter of early risers wove together into a symphony of life that was at once ordinary and extraordinary. The bell tower, ever present in the distance, seemed to breathe along with her, its silent shadow stretching across the town square. Clara imagined the lives it had touched, the weddings and farewells it had witnessed, the secrets it had kept tucked in the folds of its wooden frame. She remembered a story her mother had once told her of a child long ago who had left a note within the bell chamber, a tiny wish pressed into parchment, hoping that someday someone would find it and understand. The thought brought a soft smile to Clara's lips, a gentle ache that mingled longing with the quiet comfort of connection across generations. Outside, a squirrel darted along the fence, its tiny paws tapping rhythmically, a percussive counterpoint to the river. Ese constant murmur. Clara closed her eyes for a moment, imagining walking through the crisp grass toward the edge of the woods, each step aligned with the heartbeat of the earth beneath her. The wind whispered in the branches, and she imagined it carried voices from decades past, children playing in the bell tower's shadow, lovers leaning close in hushed confessions, elders recalling stories long since faded from memory. She felt herself absorbed into this invisible tapestry, her presence a small but meaningful thread. A sudden glimmer caught her eye, a reflection of sunlight on the curved glass of the bell tower. For a heartbeat, she imagined it as a signal, a subtle invitation to explore, to step beyond observation into participation. She let the idea settle gently, allowing her mind to wander down corridors of memory, the quiet mornings she had spent with her grandfather, the evenings listening to her grandmother hum forgotten lullabies. Even the shadowed corners of the house seemed alive with soft energy, holding echoes of laughter, whispered apologies, and the gentle, persistent hum of love that lingered long after the voices themselves had faded. Clara rose, stretching slowly, feeling her muscles ease under the warmth of the sunlight. She picked up a small notebook from the desk and began to write, her pen gliding across the paper as if carried by the wind itself. Words spilled in gentle currents, reflections on the beauty of fleeting moments, the impermanence of life, and the ways memories could anchor the soul amidst change. Every line felt like a bridge, connecting her to ancestors she had never met, and the quiet spirit of the town she called home. The afternoon light softened into a warm amber, filtering through the attic window and casting long, comforting shadows. Clara placed the notebook aside and leaned back, listening. The wind played softly in the maples, the distant river sang with silvered voice, and the bell tower remained silent, yet present, an enduring guardian of the town's heart and history. In this stillness, Clara felt a wave of serenity, a quiet understanding that even in solitude, one is never truly alone. The past and present converge, and the threads of memory, love, and quiet wisdom weave an invisible safety net. She let herself breathe deeply, eyes closed, absorbing the subtle symphony of life around her. As the story fades, allow yourself to drift into a peaceful sleep, she whispered softly, feeling the calm settle into her chest, a gentle warmth that promised rest, reflection, and quiet. Asterisk. As afternoon gently stretched into early evening, the sky above the Whitmore house shifted into soft shades of apricot and lavender, painting the clouds with a calm serenity. Clara walked slowly down the creaking wooden stairs, her footsteps muted by the thick, well-worn rugs that lined the hallway. The air carried a faint scent of autumn rain lingering in the soil outside, mingling with the subtle warmth of the wood stove that had been burning since morning. She paused by the front window, observing the trees swaying lightly, their branches like delicate fingers brushing the horizon, and the river winding quietly in the distance, catching every hint of fading sunlight. The town felt both alive and suspended in a gentle hush, as though the world had leaned in to listen to its own heartbeat. Clara let herself breathe in rhythm with that pulse. Feeling a sense of calm wash over her body, she imagined walking through the crisp leaves scattered along the sidewalks, the crunch beneath her shoes echoing softly in the empty street. Every sound, from the distant clatter of a shutter to the quiet rustle of a crow in the tree, seemed to form a symphony, a reminder that life carried both motion and stillness simultaneously. Her thoughts drifted to her family, memories unfurling like pages in a treasured book. She remembered the evenings spent around the fireplace with her grandmother, listening to tales of ancestors long gone, their voices suspended in the amber glow of the hearth. Each story was a thread connecting past and present, a bridge that made her feel both grounded and free. Clara often returned to those memories when the world felt heavy, letting their warmth wrap around her like a soft, protective blanket. The bell tower, visible from the parlor window, stood in quiet dignity. Its silhouette, dark against the dimming sky, held centuries of silent witness. Clara recalled the tale of the first bell, hung by her great-great-grandfather, who had intended it to mark not only time, but significant moments of life births, marriages, and farewells. Occasionally, when the wind was just right, a faint echo would drift from the tower, a vibration in the air that spoke of history, choices, and long-forgotten hopes. Tonight, as the wind carried the scent of damp leaves and distant smoke, Clara imagined the bell tower gently humming in resonance with her own thoughts, a quiet companion in solitude. She stepped onto the back porch, letting the cool evening air brush against her face. The first stars peeked through the twilight, shimmering softly above the town and river. Clara inhaled deeply, feeling the subtle pulse of life around her, the crickets beginning their gentle chorus, the soft murmur of the river, and the occasional flap of a bird settling for the night. She felt her heart expand with quiet gratitude, the awareness of being part of a lineage, a community, a place that carried both joy and sorrow. In that delicate balance, she found a profound sense of peace. As her gaze wandered across the yard, she noticed the faint outline of her father's old workshop, long abandoned yet full of echoes. Tools hung in perfect alignment, a thin layer of dust covering the wooden benches, and the smell of sawdust lingered faintly, stubbornly sweet. Memories of afternoons spent beside him, learning to carve small figures from scraps of wood, returned to her. The lessons were not merely about craft, but patience, attention, and reverence for simple acts. Clara smiled softly, imagining his quiet encouragement, the warmth of shared moments resonating deeper than the passing of years. A shadow moved near the edge of the yard, almost imperceptible, and Clara's breath caught slightly nod in fear, but in recognition of life's subtle mysteries. The bell tower seemed to acknowledge her notice, standing taller in the dimming light, a sentinel for secrets and stories alike. Clara closed her eyes for a brief moment, letting the evening wash over her, feeling a gentle thrill of anticipation mingling with tranquility. The subtle interplay of memory, nature, and the lingering presence of those she loved created a rhythm, a pulse that was at once soothing and evocative. She returned inside, settling near the parlor window with a soft throw wrapped around her shoulders. The light from the fireplace flickered against her notebook as she began to record her reflections. The sounds, the sights, the emotions that filled the space between day and night. Each word seemed to crystallize, the gentle, almost imperceptible magic that infused her home, the bell tower, and the landscape beyond. Clara felt herself attune more fully to the invisible threads connecting past and present, family and self, silence and sound. And as the first chill of night brushed the town, Clara whispered to herself, a tender invitation for the listener to follow. As the story fades, allow yourself to drift into a peaceful sleep. The evening deepened, and a soft violet hue settled over the town, stretching across the rooftops and the quiet river below. Clara lingered by the window, watching shadows lengthen, each one a brushstroke of memory and imagination. The cool air carried the faint scent of wet leaves and the distant warmth of chimneys, and she felt herself drawn into the rhythm of the night, breathing in sync with the wind that rustled gently through the maples. There was a kind of music in the ordinary sounds, the gentle creak of the porch, the whisper of branches against one another, the distant echo of a dog's bark, and it wove a tapestry that was both soothing and alive. Her thoughts drifted to family, to the lineage held within the walls of the Whitmore house. Each room held a resonance, a memory trapped in the fibers of carpet and wood, in the fading wallpaper and the corners where sunlight no longer reached. Clara imagined her grandmother's laughter lingering in the parlor, the soft touch of her mother's hand guiding her through the years, and the quiet strength of her father as he worked in his shop, teaching her patience in small, deliberate histories. She realized that the house itself seemed to breathe with her, responding to her presence, acknowledging her attention to its nuances, its stories, its quiet magic. The bell tower, visible in the soft twilight, became more than a structure. It was a keeper of emotion. Clara thought about the countless moments it had silently witnessed. Celebrations, farewells, whispered confessions, and moments of sorrow that passed unnoticed by most. It stood as a sentinel over the town, and she felt the weight of its presence, not as a burden, but as a gentle reassurance. It reminded her that even in silence there is listening, and even in absence there is understanding. Clara wandered through the attic once more, letting her fingers brush against familiar objects, the small carved figurines her father had made, the journals her grandmother kept, the brass candlesticks polished by careful hands. Each object was a whisper, a fragment of history that pulsed softly, with life when she acknowledged it. She paused to look out a small, circular window at the first glimmers of evening stars, each one a tiny spark suspended in the vastness of the sky. She imagined that each star represented a story, a memory, a hope, a choice, each shining quietly yet profoundly across time. The house exhaled with her, its wood expanding with the coolness of the night, settling with the rhythm of the wind. Clara felt a wave of calm envelop her, a soft embrace of the familiar and the mysterious, the known and the unseen. She thought about the quiet moments she had shared with her family's simple breakfasts, whispered stories in the dark, hands held in reassurance. Each memory, even fleeting, seemed to gain weight in the stillness, becoming more significant because of the attention she gave it, more vivid because she allowed herself to notice. She stepped onto the balcony, feeling the chill of the evening air against her skin. The leaves of the maples shimmered faintly, silvered by the last light of the sun, and the river reflected the shifting colors of the sky. Clara let the scene sink into her simsisa. Sounds, the smells, the subtle play of light and shadow, and she noticed a flicker in the bell tower's window. For a heartbeat, she imagined it as a message, an invitation to consider the quiet truths that linger in places long observed, yet rarely understood. Returning to her chair by the window, Clara opened her notebook again. Words flowed like the river below, describing the movement of light across the leaves, the gentle stirring of the air, the soft presence of her family's past and present. She wrote of patience, of observation, of noticing the invisible threads that connect one life to another. Each word became a meditation, a soft anchor in the evening, a gentle guide toward peace. The twilight deepened into a calm indigo, and Clara felt a final sigh of contentment ripple through her. The wind played softly, carrying the subtle music of leaves, river, and distant animals settling for the night. She closed her eyes, imagining the bell tower standing watch, steadfast and patient, a silent guardian over all that mattered. And with a whisper of warmth and gentle reassurance, she spoke softly. As the story fades, allow yourself to drift into a peaceful sleep. Nightfall arrived with a gentle hush, draping the Whitmore house in shades of deep indigo and soft silver. Clara moved quietly through the rooms, each step measured, each breath attuned to the subtle rhythms of the night. The fireplace's last embers glowed faintly, casting a warm, flickering light on the walls, and the wind outside carried the scent of damp leaves, distant pine, and the faint smokiness of evening fires. Clara inhaled deeply, allowing the calm to settle in her chest, her body softening under the quiet embrace of the house. She paused at the window overlooking the garden, now cloaked in shadows, yet glimmering softly under the moonlight. The bell tower stood tall, a dark silhouette against the shimmering night sky. Its presence was both grounding and mysterious, a keeper of countless stories and echoes of lives long past. Clara imagined the voices it had witnessed, soft whispers of love, laughter carried by the wind, the hushed sobs of farewells, and the silent prayers of those seeking guidance. Each echo seemed to ripple through the night, mingling with the rustle of the leaves and the subtle murmur of the river. Clara's thoughts drifted to her own family. 2 quiet evenings spent in shared spaces filled with warmth and stories. She remembered her grandmother's gentle hands arranging the tea set, her mother's soft laughter weaving through the room, her father's calm voice teaching patience through small acts. These recollections were like tiny lanterns within her chest, each one glowing with reassurance and love, illuminating even the corners of the house shadowed by time. She felt a connection stretching across generations, as if the bell tower itself had witnessed and protected these delicate moments. Stepping onto the balcony, Clara allowed the night air to brush against her cheeks. Stars glimmered above, faint and steady, echoing the stories stored within the bell tower. She noticed the wind moving through the maples, each branch bending slightly as if bowing in respect to the quiet of the evening. Somewhere in the distance, an owl hooted softly, punctuating the symphony of night sounds, the whisper of leaves, the river's subtle murmur, and the faint rustle of creatures preparing for rest. Clara closed her eyes, letting the music of the world sink into her, aligning her heartbeat with the calm pulse of the town. Memories of her childhood intertwined with the present. She recalled nights spent chasing fireflies in the yard, their tiny lights flickering like distant stars, and quiet conversations with her grandmother on the porch, sharing stories of ancestors who had once walked the same paths. She remembered her father showing her the stars, pointing out constellations, and telling her how each one carried a story, a lesson, or a secret. The intertwining of memory and imagination created a soft glow within her. a warmth that contrasted beautifully with the cool night air. Returning inside, Clara sank into a comfortable chair by the window, her notebook open, ready to capture the gentle magic of the night. Her pen moved slowly, reflecting her thoughts. The way moonlight shimmered on frost-kissed leaves, the soft hum of wind through the trees, the unseen lives and memories that lingered quietly in the spaces around her. Every word she wrote felt like a connection to the living, the past, and the unseen, a delicate bridge across time. As midnight approached, the bell tower remained silent, yet profoundly present, a steadfast witness to the continuity of life and memory. Clara felt her body relax completely, her mind tracing the gentle curves of emotion and history she had wandered through. She leaned back, allowing herself to be wrapped in the tranquility of the house, the night, and her own reflections. With a tender whisper, she shared the last thought of the evening, a soft reminder for those listening. As the story fades, allow yourself to drift into a peaceful sleep. Next, Chapter 1, Part 6. The first hours of night had fully settled over the Whitmore house, and the attic glowed faintly in the silver light of the moon filtering through the windows. Clara sat quietly, her fingers tracing the edge of the old wooden desk, feeling the subtle grooves carved over decades. Outside, the maples whispered softly in the gentle breeze, and the river beyond shimmered like molten silver, reflecting the stars beginning to dot the indigo sky. The world was hushed, yet alive with delicate sounds, the distant creak of a shutter, the soft rustle of leaves, the subtle, almost imperceptible hum of the town resting beneath the bell tower's silent watch. Clara allowed her mind to wander, touching memories with reverence. She thought of mornings spent with her grandmother, the smell of freshly baked bread, and the soft laughter echoing through sunlit rooms. She remembered her father showing her how to carve small wooden figures, teaching patience, attention, and care in every motion. Even the faintest recollections carried warmth, weaving a soft tapestry that wrapped her in comfort. The house itself seemed alive, breathing alongside her, holding echoes of generations within its walls, inviting reflection and quiet gratitude. The bell tower loomed in the distance, silent yet commanding. Clara imagined its history, centuries of observing lives, marking beginnings and endings, listening to whispers of joy and sorrow alike. Each chime that once echoed through the town was now a memory, a vibration in the fabric of time. For a moment, she pictured the hands of countless ancestors, their choices and small gestures, lingering like shadows that never fully disappear. The weight of legacy, Taugsatel, was a presence that reminded her of belonging and connection. Clara rose and moved to the balcony, letting the crisp night air brush against her face. The stars glimmered faintly, and the river mirrored the heavens in quiet devotion. She inhaled deeply, feeling the pulse of the town, the life of the trees, and the unseen energies threading through the house and the bell tower. In this serenity, she sensed the delicate balance between past and present, memory and imagination, solitude and connection. The wind carried whispers, perhaps of those who had lived and loved here before, their voices soft and reassuring, reminding her that she was part of a continuing story. Returning inside, Clara settled back into her chair, wrapping herself in a cozy throw. Her notebook lay opened, ready to receive the final impressions of the evening. She wrote slowly, savoring each word. The shimmer of moonlight on leaves, the soft sigh of the wind through branches, the quiet presence of family across generations, and the gentle guidance of the bell tower's watchful shadow. Each stroke of her pen felt like anchoring herself to the calm, capturing the magic hidden in ordinary moments. A faint chime seemed to echo in her imagination, as though the bell tower itself had finally spoken, acknowledging her presence and her attentiveness. Clara smiled softly, feeling the warmth of both memory and possibility. She imagined sharing this tranquility with anyone who might be listening, offering them a gentle path into reflection, serenity, and sleep. With a tender exhale, she whispered, as the story fades, allow yourself to drift into a peaceful sleep. And with that, the first chapter of her evening passed, leaving a sense of calm, quiet wonder, and gentle anticipation for the stories yet to come. And now, dear listener, if you enjoyed this quiet journey through memory and night, consider subscribing to Midnight Murmurs Radio so we can continue to explore the whispers of history, family, and gentle magic together. Which memory in your own life would you carry softly into the night? The night had settled fully over the town, and the Widmer house breathed quietly in the embrace of darkness. Clara sat by the window, a soft blanket draped around her shoulders, listening to the gentle chorus of nocturnal life. Crickets chirped rhythmically, their song interweaving with the rustle of maple leaves in the wind, and the distant river murmured softly, reflecting the pale moonlight like liquid silver. Every sound felt magnified in the stillness, a delicate symphony of nature inviting Clara to sink deeper into reflection and calm. Her mind wandered through the past, revisiting the subtle lessons of her childhood. She remembered sitting beside her grandmother in the kitchen, the golden light of late afternoon spilling across the worn wooden table, and the comforting aroma of fresh-baked bread, mingling with the faint scent of apples from the orchard. Each memory held a lesson, an emotional resonance that echoed in her chest, a reminder of patience, gentleness, and the quiet power of observation. Clara allowed herself to dwell in these recollections, letting them guide her into a state of serene awareness. The bell tower loomed silently in the distance, its dark silhouette softened by moonlight. Clara imagined its history unfurling in layers, centuries of townsfolk, celebrations, whispered farewells, and quiet acts of courage. Its presence was at once grounding and mysterious, a keeper of stories that could never be fully told, yet felt profoundly in moments of stillness. She pictured a soft glow from the tower's upper chamber, almost imperceptible, like a lantern guiding her thoughts deeper into contemplation. Stepping onto the balcony, Clara let the cool night air brush her face, the subtle scent of pine and damp earth filling her senses. The stars above glimmered faintly, scattered across the sky like tiny lanterns, each one holding an untold story. She imagined walking among them, letting her memories and thoughts drift alongside the constellations. The wind stirred, carrying faint echoes of her ancestors, voices, whispers of encouragement, love, and quiet reflection that seemed to dance across time. Clara returned inside, moving to the attic once more. The soft glow of the moon painted patterns across the floorboards, each one a gentle reminder of continuity, of life moving in cycles of light and shadow. She lifted one of her grandmother's journals, tracing the faded ink with her fingers. The words spoke of moments both ordinary and profound. Quiet afternoons, small acts of kindness, and the subtle recognition that even in silence, the world teaches us its truths. Clara felt herself becoming part of that continuum, her presence acknowledged in the folds of time, in the quiet resonance of memory and imagination. As the hours deepened, Clara's thoughts meandered to the bell tower once more. She imagined it, listening, sensing, holding the essence of countless nights like this, one nights filled with soft wonder, gentle reflection, and the unspoken bonds of family and place. A shadow flickered at the edge of her vision, perhaps a trick of the moonlight, or a whisper of something unseen. Yet Clara felt no fear. Instead, she embraced it as part of the subtle magic that intertwined her present with the echoes of the past. Sitting back in her chair, Clara let her pen move across the notebook, recording impressions. The gentle hum of the wind, the soft rustle of leaves, the murmur of the river, and the quiet presence of the bell tower. Each stroke of the pen became a meditation, a bridge connecting thought, memory, and emotion. In the stillness, she felt the pulse of life, past and present, converging in harmony, a reminder that even in solitude, one is never truly alone. And as the night deepened around the Whitmore house, Clara whispered softly, a gentle invitation to the listener. As the story fades, allow yourself to drift into a peaceful sleep. The soft glow of moonlight filtered through the attic window, casting elongated shadows across the floorboards. Clara sat cross-legged on the rug, her notebook resting lightly on her knees. Outside, the wind stirred the maple trees, their rustling leaves forming a gentle, almost musical accompaniment to the distant murmur of the river. The town lay wrapped in slumber, and each sound the creak of a shutter, the faint whisper of nocturnal creatures. The soft hum of the bell tower's presence was amplified in the stillness, inviting Clara to sink further into reflection and calm. Her mind wandered through memories, as it often did on quiet nights like this. She recalled her grandmother's warm hands as they kneaded dough in the sunlit kitchen, the smell of apples and cinnamon lingering in the air. Each detail, though small, carried a profound resonance. The patience, the gentle instruction, the subtle emphasis on noticing beauty in simple moments. Clara allowed these recollections to flow through her like a river, each one a ripple connecting her present to the threads of her family's past. The bell tower loomed quietly in the distance, a steadfast guardian over the town and its stories. Clara imagined it as a keeper of echoes, listening to centuries of whispered confessions, laughter, and moments of sorrow. Its dark silhouette seemed almost alive in the moonlight, a presence both comforting and mysterious. She pictured faint glimmers of light within its chamber, as if tiny lanterns marked the memories it protected, acts of love, courage, and quiet reflection, preserved like delicate notes pressed between the pages of time. Clara rose slowly and stepped onto the balcony, letting the cool night air brush against her face. The scent of damp earth, pine, and fallen leaves mingled softly, grounding her in the present while connecting her to everything she had loved and remembered. The stars above twinkled like scattered fireflies, each one carrying an untold story, a fleeting thought, or a long-forgotten hope. Clara felt herself suspended in this delicate web of time and memory, her heart attuned to the gentle rhythm of night, wind, and river. Returning inside, she wandered through the parlor, her fingers brushing over familiar objects, her father's carved figurines, her grandmother's journals, the brass candlesticks polished by patient hands. Each item felt alive with memory, holding a whisper of past joys, sorrows, and quiet moments of understanding. Clara let her gaze rest on the fireplace, now cold, imagining the warmth that had once radiated from it, connecting her to generations who had gathered in that room. The house itself seemed to breathe alongside her, an ever-present companion in her journey through memory and reflection. The subtle chill of night prompted her to return to her chair by the window. She opened her notebook again, pen moving slowly, capturing impressions. The gentle hum of leaves, the shimmering reflection of the river, the soft interplay of shadow and moonlight on the bell tower. Words flowed like a meditation, each sentence a step deeper into tranquility, each paragraph a bridge between past and present. Clara felt the quiet magic of the evening ordinary yet extraordinary settling around her. A reminder that serenity often resides in noticing the world with gentle awareness. A soft breeze stirred, carrying faint whispers, as if the bell tower itself was acknowledging her presence, reminding her that even silence can hold meaning, and that stillness can reveal the invisible threads connecting lives across generations. Clara let herself breathe deeply, her body softening, her mind absorbing the peaceful energy of the night without tender, reassuring whisper. She invited the listener to join her in this calm. As the story fades, allow yourself to drift into a peaceful sleep. The night deepened, and the sky turned a velvety indigo, studded with faint, shimmering stars. Clara remained by the window, her gaze drifting over the quiet town, now bathed in silver moonlight. The river reflected the stars in gentle ripples, each movement like a whisper of the past reaching out to the present. The maples swayed in the soft night breeze, their leaves rustling delicately, creating a rhythm that seemed in harmony with her heartbeat. The bell tower, standing tall and silent, cast long, comforting shadows across the town, as if observing, protecting, and silently guiding all who lived below. Clara let her mind wander through the folds of memory. She recalled her childhood evenings, when the house was filled with laughter and warmth. She remembered her grandmother's gentle guidance as she learned to knead dough, the precise motion of her fingers shaping each loaf, infused with care and quiet wisdom. Her father's soft voice accompanied her through small lessons of patience and observation, and her mother's laughter floated through the hallways like sunlight captured in sound. Each memory resonated deeply, a reminder that love and presence can linger long after the moments themselves have passed. Outside, the bell tower seemed almost alive. Clara imagined it listening to the town's nocturnal symphony, the whisper of leaves, the distant call of an owl, the gentle murmur of the river, and the quiet breathing of the houses nestled among trees. She pictured soft lanterns suspended in the tower's upper chamber, glowing faintly with memories, moments of joy, sorrow, quiet reflection, and acts of kindness preserved in invisible threads. The tower was not only a sentinel of the present, but a guardian of the unseen stories woven into the fabric of the town. Clara stepped onto the balcony, letting the cool air brush her cheeks and ruffle her hair. The scent of pine and damp earth mingled with the faint aroma of evening fires from nearby homes. She inhaled deeply, grounding herself in this sensory tapestry, feeling the connection between her own breath and the rhythm of nature around her. The stars above seemed to pulse softly, each a silent witness to the lives below, and Clara felt a comforting sense of alignment, a reminder that even in solitude, she was part of a greater, ongoing story. Returning inside, she walked quietly through the attic, her fingers tracing familiar objects, each item her father's carved figurines, her grandmother's journals. The well-worn brass candlesticks carried a resonance, a subtle energy that reminded her of presence and continuity. The house seemed to hum with memory, each creak of the floorboards a note in an unseen melody. Clara closed her eyes, letting the sensations of sound, scent, and shadow converge in a calm, meditative awareness. Sitting back at her window seat, Clara opened her notebook. Her pen flowed slowly, capturing impressions of the night, the shimmering river, the rustle of leaves, the subtle play of moonlight on the bell tower, and the quiet weight of memory threading through her own heart. Each word felt like a bridge between past and present, a gentle reminder that tranquility often resides in noticing the beauty and magic in ordinary moments. As a soft breeze stirred the curtains, Clara imagined the bell tower, acknowledging her presence, a silent companion across time. She let her body relax completely, allowing the calm to settle in every muscle, every thought, every heartbeat. And with a tender whisper to herself and to anyone listening, she said, "As the story fades, allow yourself to drift into a peaceful sleep." The gentle hum of the night enveloped the Whitmore house, a quiet symphony of crickets, distant owls, and the soft whisper of the river flowing under the moonlight. Clara sat near the window, wrapped in a cozy blanket, letting the cool air brush lightly against her cheeks. The bell tower stood in the distance, dark and resolute, yet softened by the silver glow of the moon. Its silhouette carried an almost imperceptible magic, a presence that had silently observed countless nights like this one, bearing witness to the quiet lives, the subtle joys, and the unspoken sorrows of generations. Clara's thoughts drifted to her grandmother's kitchen, the smell of baked bread still vivid in her memory, mingling with the faint aroma of autumn leaves wafting through the window. She remembered learning to knead dough, her small hands guided by gentle instruction, learning patience, precision, and the quiet art of attention. These moments, though seemingly ordinary, held deep resonance. They were threads connecting her past to her present, reminders that love and care often reside in the smallest gestures. The moonlight illuminated the garden, casting delicate patterns on the ground. Clara noticed the way the maples swayed, their leaves rustling softly, a melody composed by nature itself. The river mirrored the sky, shimmering faintly like liquid silver, and distant houses exhaled warmth, tiny pockets of life glowing gently in the night. She stepped onto the balcony, taking in the serene panorama, feeling the rhythm of the world sync with her own heartbeat. Each breath became a meditation, each glance a gentle acknowledgement of the invisible threads connecting life, memory, and place. Inside, Clara wandered through the attic once more, her fingers brushing familiar objects, her father's carved figurines, her grandmother's journals, the brass candlesticks polished over decades. Each piece seemed alive with history, whispers of laughter, sorrow, and quiet wisdom that had accumulated over time. She imagined the bell tower listening, holding these echoes silently, its presence a testament to continuity, memory, and the subtle magic that connects generations. She returned to her chair by the window, pen in hand, allowing words to flow slowly across the pages of her notebook. She wrote of the gentle hum of wind through the trees, the soft shimmer of moonlight on leaves, the rhythmic pulse of the river, and the quiet guidance of the bell tower. Each word became a bridge, a way to anchor her attention in the present while honoring the past. The act of noticing, of recording, became a ritual of reflection, offering a sense of serenity that radiated through her being. A faint flicker at the edge of her vision drew her gaze to the bell tower once more. Shadows seemed to dance lightly across its stone, as if the structure itself were breathing in quiet recognition. Clara felt a gentle thrill, not of fear, but of awe and awareness that the world, though ordinary on the surface, contained layers of unseen wonder and magic. She let herself sink deeper into the calm, embracing the interplay of memory, nature, and subtle mystery. With a soft, soothing whisper, Clara offered her gentle invitation to the listener. As the story fades, allow yourself to drift into a peaceful sleep. The night hummed on, carrying a delicate balance of tranquility and quiet wonder, a reminder that even in stillness, there is life, connection, and gentle magic. The night had grown deeper, and the air carried the faint scent of pine, damp earth, and the last whispers of autumn. Clara moved quietly through the rooms, letting her fingers trace the familiar textures of wood and fabric, each one imbued with the stories of her family. The bell tower loomed in the distance, dark yet not foreboding, softened by the silver glow of the moon. Its presence was both grounding and subtly magical, as if it held the memory of every whispered word, every quiet act of love, and every small sorrow that had passed through the town. Clara's thoughts turned inward, reflecting on moments of connection and loss. She remembered evenings spent on the porch with her grandmother, listening to the soft murmur of the river below, her grandmother's voice weaving stories of resilience and gentle wisdom. She recalled her father teaching her to carve small figurines, each one a lesson in patience and quiet focus. Even the simplest interactions had taken on profound significance in the stillness of memory, forming a delicate tapestry that wrapped around her heart. Stepping onto the balcony, Clara felt the cool night air brushing her cheeks. The stars above flickered softly, scattered across the velvety sky like distant lanterns, each carrying a story waiting to be noticed. She watched the river shimmer, reflecting the subtle movements of leaves and moonlight. A soft breeze carried distant sounds, the gentle clatter of a shutter, the faint murmur of an owl, the rustle of animals settling for the night. Each note joined the symphony of quiet life, reminding her that even in apparent stillness, the world was alive, whispering stories and keeping watch. Inside, Clara wandered once more through the attic, touching objects imbued with history and memory, the brass candlesticks, her grandmother's journals, and her father's carved figures seemed to hum faintly with the echoes of generations past. She imagined the bell tower absorbing these vibrations, a silent guardian preserving the invisible threads of life, love, and experience. Each shadow seemed to hold a story, each flicker of light a reminder of continuity and the gentle power of memory. Clara returned to her window seat, pen in hand, letting the words flow as naturally as the river below. She wrote of the wind through the trees, the shimmering reflection of the moon, the subtle dance of shadow and light, and the unseen presence of the bell tower. Each sentence felt like a meditation, a bridge connecting past and present, grounding her in serenity while honoring the unseen magic woven through every night. A subtle, almost imperceptible flicker of movement in the bell tower caught her eye, like a shadow shifting or a lantern swaying softly in a hidden chamber. Clara smiled softly, sensing not fear, but the delicate mystery that inhabited quiet spaces. She allowed herself to breathe deeply, to feel the calm envelop her completely, and to share that calm with anyone listening. With attend, soft-spoken whisper, she said once more. As the story fades, allow yourself to drift into a peaceful sleep. The night continued, carrying with it serenity, gentle magic, and a quiet awareness of the stories that linger in both memory and imagination. The final hours of night stretched gently over the Whitmore house. Clara sat quietly by the window, wrapped in her soft blanket, feeling the delicate rhythm of her own breath sync with the subtle pulse of the world outside. The bell tower, tall and silent, stood against the moonlit sky, a steadfast witness to countless nights, carrying stories that were both forgotten and remembered. The river shimmered faintly in the moonlight, rippling like liquid silver, and the leaves of the maples swayed softly in the gentle night breeze. The world seemed suspended in a delicate balance of stillness and quiet life, inviting Clara to sink fully into serenity. Her thoughts wandered to her family, and she felt the warmth of connection across time. She remembered her grandmother's tender guidance in the kitchen, her father's patient instruction with small wooden carvings, her mother's soft laughter echoing through the hallways. These moments, though ordinary, held profound significance, tiny lanterns of memory that illuminated the darkest corners of the present, reminding her that love and presence never truly fade. Clara's heart swelled with gratitude, sensing the invisible threads that tied past to present, life to memory, and self to the enduring rhythm of the world. Stepping onto the balcony once more, she let the night air brush against her cheeks, cool and fragrant with pine and earth. The stars twinkled faintly above, each one a quiet witness to the delicate magic of existence. She imagined the bell tower, listening, a silent guardian, absorbing the echoes of her thoughts, the whispers of memory, and the subtle energy of the town. Shadows danced lightly across the tower's face, as if acknowledging the stories, the laughter, the love, and even the small sorrows that had traveled through its walls. Clara felt comforted, enveloped by the presence of something timeless and gentle. Returning inside, she settled once more in her chair, pen flowing across the notebook, capturing the subtle music of the night, the rustle of leaves, the the shimmer of moonlight on the river, the quiet resonance of memory, and the watchful presence of the bell tower. Each word felt like a bridge, connecting thought, feeling, and experience, offering a meditation in motion, a gentle embrace of reflection and awareness. She sensed the quiet magic that often hides in ordinary life, the profound peace that arises when one notices the world with gentle attention. A faint flicker of shadow shifted in the corner of her vision, and she imagined the bell tower acknowledging her presence with quiet recognition. Clara felt a gentle thrill of wonder, an awareness that the night, the house, the trees, and the memories all shared a subtle, harmonious connection. She breathed deeply, allowing every thought, every memory, and every sensation to settle into calm acceptance. The night was a soft cocoon, a quiet reminder of continuity, reflection, and the invisible threads of life that connect generations. Finally, with a tender, whispering voice, Clara offered her last words to those listening. As the story fades, allow yourself to drift into a peaceful sleep. She leaned back, feeling the warmth of memory, the serenity of the night, and the gentle magic of existence flowing through her. The bell tower stood silently beyond the window, a guardian of stories, memories, and quiet wonder as the world slept, cradled in calm. With this, Chapter 2 concluded, leaving the listener wrapped in tranquility, gentle reflection, and the comforting rhythm of night. The story of the silent bell tower softly closes, a peaceful passage into dreams, memory, and calm awareness.